All right, I am so sorry. I'm having technical difficulties. So I had to restart, but I am back. I am yours truly, Dr. Gladys David of She Invests Realty. So um, if you are getting me for the first time tonight, our topic tonight is really a very short and quick and fun topic. It's discussing negotiations, right? Every woman investor should absolutely know. So, without any further ado, I'm in the studio again. If I have a power outage or something goes out, then forgive me, but it's life, it happens. But let's continue. So, I was sharing with you that when you get into investing, it's always a mindset, right? And this topic came about not with my students, but just in general, just talking to people in everyday real estate life and finding out um, what their desires are. And there was a comment made that, I made this seem so easy that, it seems like, they can learn from me. And I appreciate that. That is one of the highest compliments that one can offer. But easy and simple are not the same. Okay, so let's be very clear. It is simple once you have the right strategy, once you have the right tools, once you understand what you're doing. So, when was the last time you negotiated for something big or small? Ask yourself that question. And this can go to, it could be a job, it could be something you really wanted, it could have been for a car. But when it comes to negotiating for what you want, there's principles that comes along with it, and tonight I am going to share with you some of the principles that will be needed in order to find yourself successful in real estate investing. No matter what strategy, no matter what you're doing, negotiation is something that is needed no matter what. So let me share my journey with you, how I found myself figuring out what to negotiate for when it was time for me to make a decision to join a certain real estate investing program. So the investing program I found was extremely, at the time, something I really wanted to do. It was something that, the truth is, I couldn't afford the price point of it. It was six figures. And but yet my burning desire to want to do the program nevertheless was greater than the amount of money. I just couldn't invest in it at the time. So instead of me giving up, I didn't feel defeated. I felt like, you know what? There's got to be an alternative. So for me, it wasn't over because I couldn't afford that program, because watching everyone else succeed in that program, I knew that it was going to be a sure thing, that, if I put my mind to it, if I invested into it, it would make financial sense down the road. But being a single parent and preparing to invest that kind of money was not in my wheelhouse at the time. But there's always an alternative, and it was a better solution for me. So instead of giving up, I looked into another way. And what I found was that I found a real estate investing coach who was willing to coach me one-on-one, give me the foundations of what I needed. So instead of it being a six-figure program, it was a five-figure program that I can afford. See, betting on myself is never optional. That's just not ever going to be an option for me. It's something that I feel is necessary in order for us to grow out of our comfort zone, whatever that is. I don't know who created comfort zone, but we need to be able to believe in ourselves first. But it starts in the mind, and believing that I can do this definitely started in my mind. Believing that I knew I was capable was something that I needed. I just needed someone to guide me in the right direction. I needed someone to show me, what's the right thing for me to do and how do I do it. And that was getting the basics down packed. That was getting my foundation. So fast forward today, that investment paid off very well. It has formed my 17-year career in this business. It has allowed me to get into multiple properties, build my own portfolio, be able to be here in front of you, exactly, and building that business and not being afraid of what I heard, because the first sign of no is the weakness that one would walk away from. Well, oh, I guess I can't do it, right? So I have to find, someone else at a cheaper price. Well, I wasn't looking for cheaper. I was looking for affordability and something that made sense for me. And so that's where the negotiation came into play. While I didn't give up while at that program, I just said to them, there has to be something else here besides what you're selling. There has to be something here. So show me other investments that are more within my wheelhouse. So that's one way to position yourself and say, hey, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be some other way for me to make this happen for myself besides that. So from then on, I promised myself that I will always, let my voice be, something that allows me to speak further and not sit in a room and not ask the right questions or just accept things as they are. There's always an alternative. Just remember that there's always an alternative. You just can't accept it for what it is. So let's dig into this. So negotiation isn't about winning or losing. Just be very, very clear about that. Negotiation is about alignment. It's about the value exchange. It's about the woman who brings collaboration and intuition to the table. We do that already. So why are we always questioning and second guessing ourselves? I want you to be very, very intentional about what we're going to talk about tonight, because I have a couple of points. I have some notes in front of me because I don't want to miss what I have ready for you. And when it's time for you to take notes, I want you to do that. So I want you to think about this. Why do women often hesitate to negotiate? Why is that? I don't know why we are so hesitant versus our peers, our counterparts. We have just as much intelligence, but many women hold back negotiation. And it's not because we lack the skills. Not at all. It's not because we lack the intelligence. Not at all. It's largely social conditioning. Social conditioning has us believing that, from a young age, women are taught to be agreeable and be polite. Don't make waves. Have you heard that before? I have. I've heard it all my corporate career, let's just leave things as they are, Gladys. Things are going well. No, I like to rock the boat. I like to be a bit of a rebel rouser. So we want to avoid conflict, right? We don't want to, if you're too pushy, people won't want to work with you. It's not about being pushy. It's about being firm and standing in your position, both feet on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that. So value relationships over outcomes. I mean, sometimes the expense of our own financial or professional gains are all about us making the right decision for us. I told you my investment was 5 figures versus 6 figures. Now, did I need permission to invest 5 figures? No, I didn't, because I knew what I was looking for, and I was looking for an opportunity for me to grow a business, not a hobby. So if you are investing in yourself, then you're very serious about what you're doing. So here's the thing. All of the things that I just shared with you, being agreeable, being polite, avoiding conflict, that leads to what I call the likability trap. I don't even know if that's a right word or if that even exists, but, we always want to like and get along to be along. But, the likability trap doesn't always work for everyone. The fear of asking for what will make you seem pushy, aggressive, or selfish, that's a mindset. You won't know what you are going up against until you ask. I mean, why not ask, right? So listen. And then there's the fear of objection, being told no. So to go back to my own example where I was at a program, I told you it was 6 figures. People looked like they were having fun. They were doing very well. And I wasn't afraid to ask, hey, is there an alternative? Is there another program? Is there another way that I can still learn some of the basics without putting in this investment? If you don't ask, you won't know. If you don't push the envelope, you'll never get to the solution that you're seeking for. So why limit yourself? Why minimize yourself? Why put yourself into a box instead of just asking the right questions? And so for me, asking for what I deserve doesn't make it unlikable, doesn't make me, pushy. I think asking for what I deserve makes me credible and confident in the things that I really, really want. So that's what you do. If you are confident in what you want, then you push forward. There's going to be some examples, right? And it doesn't just apply in your personal life, it applies in your professional life, right? Negotiation is a process. Negotiation is something that you must learn how to do, but it's not undoable. It's something that once you learn it, you can only get better and better and better. So whether you are thinking about getting into real estate or have already started into real estate, and maybe it's going well for you and this isn't for you, but for those that are really still on the fence and not knowing, these are some of the skill sets that comes along with that confidence that we talked about that you will need in order for you to do that. So I want you to be able to negotiate every time with confidence, and with that confidence compounds over the years, you will be able to understand that this is a necessary skill that you will require over and over and again. Okay, so let's continue to dig in. So I want you to write this down as a key takeaway for you. Hesitation isn't weakness, it's a habit, and habits can be broken with awareness, practice, and the right mindset. Okay, so that's my first nugget for you today. Okay, I want to introduce you to the mindset reframe. Refrain from the fear and lean into the opportunity. Okay, refrain from the fear and lean into the opportunity. And I'm going to share with you some examples where you can actually benefit about, this opportunity that could be in front of you. So fear isn't the problem. The real challenge is that you don't have the right skill sets. And when you don't have the right skill sets, you're not going to come across as confident. Okay. Now, most women think that hesitation is fear, but that's not true. What it is that you're lacking the confidence that you need. So I want you to think of this old mindset. Here's an old mindset. If I ask, I might be rejected or seen pushy. Push that old mindset out the window. But here's the new mindset, right? Asking is my opportunity to create, clarify expectation, and get the value that I'm seeking for myself. See the difference? It really does. So why does that matter? Why does it matter? It matters every step away, because once you understand what you're doing, then you don't have to worry about seeming like you're pushing, because you'll have data to back prove it. I'll get into the data in a little while. So every no brings you closer to a better yes. Let me share with you what I mean by that. I coach with the infamous motivational speaker, Les Brown. And I remember listening to him where he said, when he was growing into his motivational business, he had to take several odd jobs. And he actually shared with us in our coaching class that he even has it in his book and some of his past audio, that he used to be a door-to-door salesman selling vacuum cleaners. And he said, make no your vitamin. I love that. Because what I've learned in The Power of Yes, is a great book that I love to read. And I don't think it's here tonight, but The Power of Yes, I love to leave you with some kind of book, but I'll bring it next week. The Power of Yes. Every no brings you one step closer to a yes. So in the numbers game, I was in residential sales for a while, as well as investing, residential as a real estate agent. So, a realtor professional, whatever you want to call yourself, a realtor. In that space, no has to become your vitamin, because if you are making cold calls, right? If that's how you run your business, there's many ways to run your business. But if you ever made any cold calls, then cold calling is a numbers game. So instead of you looking at that no as, oh my God, they just hung up on me, don't get bent out of it. Be glad that they said no, because start creating yourself a tickler. Create a tickler. Once you create that tickler, how many no's do I get before I get a yes? And it's all about understanding your scripts. It's all about understanding, overcoming those objections, right? This isn't the format, but I brought it in here because if there's ever a place where you're dealing with rejection, and here's the thing, if you don't have a sphere, as many people building a business from scratch, I did not have a sphere. I actually had to build my business from ground zero, because I'm from a different state than where I was living. So I literally had to do a lot of different calls in order for me to get to my yes. It became a numbers game for me. So if I got 10 no's, maybe the 11th one. So as I started to see the pattern, then my closings, my ratio got better and better and better. So here's the reality of it. One step closer to that yes, right? So I didn't mind having the no, because that no meant that's how close I was to it. So the new mindset after so many no's is asking for the opportunity, right? If you don't ask, you don't receive. So why does it matter? I told you that every no brings you closer to a better yes. So confidence is the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of the fear. Pick up the phone if you're in the residential space and make the call. What's going to happen? They hang up on you, right? So using that as an example, because investing is different, but not so much, because if you're in the wholesaling space, you're still looking for clients that are willing to sell you their home based on your conversation, your negotiation skills. You're still calling that person. You're still looking to buy their home. You still have to negotiate over price, because whatever price they ask, if you're doing the work the way you should, chances are they're not going to get it. You'll have to be able to negotiate. Later on, I'll show you a little example of the power of negotiation regardless, right? Because that's something that you're going to have to do anyway. So when you feel hesitation creeping in, I mean, just ask yourself, am I avoiding a deal because I'm scared? Or is it an opportunity for growth? Okay. So just make a shift in your thought process, right? Just make a shift. No doesn't mean never. No just means not yet, not right now. You know, that's all no really means. I mean, if you really understood the power of no, you should be excited when you get a no, because the yes is around the corner. The yes is about to happen. So negotiation does not equal confrontation. It's communication with a purpose. Understand that. All right. So I want to give you a little exercise for you to think about when you are on your own. And I wrote this exercise down because I had to do it once for myself. Where is it? Hold on. I wrote this exercise down once for myself because I thought it was really, really good. So here it is. Here it is. I'm going to give you several scenarios, and I want you to think about it. Think about it and tell me what you think. Lowering the price of a property, a better deal from a contractor, because you will be dealing with contractors if you are in this business, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're going to fix or flip, or even if you're considering getting an estimate on a wholesale property you're going to do. Only time you won't really be dealing with any contractors is if you are choosing a different line of business, like a REIT. And REITs are completely different because they already have a whole organization. I talk about REITs all the time. They're a great opportunity. I myself invest in REITs, but I also have other strategies that I do myself. All right, so moving on. A rate reduction from a lender, okay, because there's an opportunity for you to work with a lender. Perhaps he has a rate that's not favorable to you. We'll talk about the difference, what that looks like for you. A raise or promotion if you're still at a job and you don't negotiate for your own raise or promotion. Why not? I know I did. Yeah, in that corporate world, I knew exactly how to ask for what I needed. And why shouldn't you ask for what you are worth? I mean, they're not paying you enough anyway, so why not go for the moon, and then you can land amongst the stars? I mean, just saying. All right. So be honest. I want you to think about that. Okay. What's something that you didn't ask for because of fear or doubt or hesitation? Okay. So that exercise is something that I want you to do, ask yourself down the line. But here's the framework, okay? I want to give you the framework of the three things that you need in order for you to be successful in your earlier negotiation. So write this down. So this is the framework that gives you structure and confidence for any negotiation, even the scenarios that I talked to you above. You're going to walk through it step by step. Number one, anchor yourself. Now, what do I mean by anchoring yourself? When it comes to real estate investing, you need to know your numbers and know your limits. To make it simple, you must know what your maximum allowable offer will be, and if you know what the after repair value is based on facts. Okay. Here's an example. If a property is worth 200,000 based on comps, and you have a budget that you are willing to stick with after you've done your ARV, your after repair value. So here's what you do. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand the property that you're selling is 200,000, but based on comps and my budget is 185,000, and I feel confident that that's a fair price for both of us. I love this property. I want to move quickly. Based on the market value, 185 is a fair offer. That benefits both of us. Okay. And you just kind of pause. Silence is powerful. It creates the space for the counter offers, and it shows confidence. So you say it firmly. The property is valued at 200,000 and my budget is 185. That's my anchor. I love the property and I want to move quickly. Based on market data, 185 is a fair price that benefits both of us. Okay. So you say that and you pause. There's no need to hem and haw. There's no explanation needed. You said everything that you needed to say, right? So notice how structuring that question, and how you state it makes a difference. You did it with the anchors. You're solid because you did it based on the numbers. That's what you said. You did your research, your intent, your strategic silence. All of that is part of it. Okay. It makes negotiation feel less scary, more like a conversation, as opposed to, well, all I have is 185 and I don't think this property is really worth it. I mean, that is not negotiation. Emotions are not tied to negotiation. That is not what you want. So each practice builds confidence and it shifts your mindset from fear to the opportunity. That's all it is. It's a shift. So now that you build your confidence, right, we're going to do some practicing. So there's some things that I'm going to need you to do. Scripts that you can use for contractors, lenders, and sellers. All of this is part of who you're going to, and sellers, right? You're definitely going to be negotiating with sellers the most. Contractors too, depending on where you're at. So I want to give you 3 common negotiation scenarios. One for the contractor, one for the lender, and one for the sellers, and how you can handle it. So let's say a contractor and you have sat down and you've had an agreement on the work that he's done because you've done your homework. You work in threes, you interview 3 contractors, and this is the one that you think is good for you based on your scope of work, right? SOW, your scope of work. So with your scope of work, you are confident that the numbers that you have is comfortable, and he's confirming it. And of all the 3 numbers, the medium, high, the low, whichever one you choose, because you don't always choose based on the lowest. You do it also based on referrals and previous work and quick timing. It all makes sense on whatever you choose to. If you are in the class, you know that we talk about that in She Rises Academy. That is a course that we are entering week number 7 in my course this week. So therefore, they're really, really coming to a head in terms of, understanding the basics of it. But I digress. I just wanted to let you know that the next cohort starts December 4th. And so we're going to be on a 2-week hiatus and you still have time to interview. So just go ahead and go to coachgladys.com, schedule yourself an interview. So that way I can meet with you one-on-one and see if we are a good fit for each other. All right, so here we go. Contractors, help me understand where the cost difference comes from. So because there might be a disparity. So if you're looking at 2 contractors and, one came in really high, but this is the one you really like, his might be higher. And so you just ask the question. The other question you may ask the contractor is, if we move forward today, what flexibility do you have on price? That's important. Because if you are in the business of getting a home repaired for a BRR, or if you're doing fix and flip, buy and hold, getting it ready to rent, it doesn't matter. You want to know, how flexible is he on price? Okay. That's just 3 common negotiation scenarios. Okay. That's just one. Here's the second one. Given my credit and given the volume of work that I'm doing, can we explore rate adjustments? Now, let me share with you that if you are building with She Rises Academy, we don't always use our own personal credit. But initially, if it is your first investment, possibly they're going to look at your personal credit to see if you are a good financial manager of your own finances as they lend you. It may have nothing to do with your credit at all, but because of the way you manage your finances, you may get a higher interest rate. But you can always ask, and that's the way you phrase it: given my credit and volume. So what does that mean? So you may be doing 2, 3, or 4, 5 flips a year. So that's what you're telling him. I know this is my first, but I plan on doing more. So perhaps he or she may want to see how you manage the first one, and your rates can go different. But another way to ask the question is, are there loyalty or repeat investor discounts available? So now you're positioning yourself as a person that's not only going to be a one-time pony. You are going to do this over and over. So ask the lender, is there any way? All right. This is if you're not in the academy. In the academy, we build business credit. And in the academy, we actually have our own lenders who work with us to help us build business credit, and also offers business line of credit. So I'm just speaking to the general public because you are not in the academy and you may be hearing me for the first time. All right. So the third common negotiation scenario I want to talk with you is the sellers. This is very important. You're going to be working with sellers, right? So if we can close fast, what's the best number you can do today? Now, what does that mean? What's the best number? Let's go back to the $200,000 scenario. Remember, you anchored yourself because you've done your numbers at 185. So that's a way for you to say, what's your best number? They may say, well, they hem and haw. They don't know what the best number is. They was hoping that they would get to 200,000. But here's the fact: we have some more things in our toolbox that we'll be sharing as we continue to negotiate. The conversation continues. It's not a debate, it's a conversation. So here we go. We're going to talk about the power of the 3 S's. Okay. The 3 S's in real estate. So the 3 S's is going to include recent market trends, appreciation rates, comparable property sales prices, and of course, repairs and improvements needed. That's why most likely you have brought down their price, because you've compared that home from other properties that were selling at 200 and above, and this property may not be there. So continue to take some notes. So these numbers are for you to anchor, and you are to understand that it's just the facts. It's not just an opinion, it's the facts in front of you. So here we go. So when you provide real examples, that helps your deal flow differently. So for example, 3 similar homes in the neighborhood that sold for less than their asking price, right? Maybe those homes were just like this home you're looking at, and the comps show that they didn't sell for 200. They were listed, or they were priced at, or maybe he's asking because he's a for sale by owner. However, you don't see it as such, and you're a buyer. So you're buying this property as an investment. So you're going to see it a lot differently than lenses that are looking to live into the property. So here's what we need to do. You might have got 3 contractor quotes who lowered their bids just so they can see if they can get the job. Cheaper doesn't over mean better. It doesn't mean better. It just means, are they going to shortchange you along the way? Are they going to give you the quality material that you're looking for? Do you have the power to actually go out and pick your own materials, based on what you discussed? Because your SOW explains to them exactly the type of granite that you want, or the type of quartz that you want, the type of cabinets that you want. So maybe they're trying to cut corners and give you a cheaper product. So all that's going to make a difference. And the 3 lenders that you've compared, the one that you chose, maybe they have a good rate of the 3 that you selected, but is it comparable to the others that you looked at? So here we go. We got a lot more to cover, not much more, because I'm almost coming to a close, and it's important for us to understand where we are coming to this close at. Okay, so here we go. There are several possible outcomes when we are negotiating with people that shows flexibility. Okay. For example, you can say, I pay X if closing within 30 days, right? I pay Y if the seller covers some repairs. I pay Z if the seller includes appliances or upgrades. So all of this is all part of your negotiations. These are all the different ways that you can negotiate without seeming pushy and without lowering your standards or your value. So the purpose of negotiation is rarely all or nothing. It's presenting the three outcomes and the positions that you are, and you're collaborating to look for a solution that's mutually agreeable by both parties. Okay. So when you are prepared, you negotiate from a place of strength and not emotion. It's all about strength, not emotion. Okay. Because you're buying as an investor anyway. So your emotions shouldn't be tied to how you feel. Your feelings have nothing to do with the outcome that you're seeking for. Okay. Now, the confidence overcomes everything, right? Even credentials. Even if you're a first time person doing what you're doing, your confidence will come across. You need to sound confidence. I'll give you an example. My assistant and I were interviewing people today for a position in our company, and he's been with me for so very long that he ruled out the first person to interview because he said she didn't sound confident. And based on the task of him knowing what the task was, he felt like, she might be good at her job, but her confidence level is why he wouldn't choose her. And that was quite interesting observation, working with me and understanding that, he says, knowing that the deliverables and the requirements and what's going to be up ahead for her is going to be greater than just a one-time project. We're looking for a project manager in our company to grow a certain aspect of our business. And so him being who he is, he didn't bite his tongue to tell me what he thought. So he's been confident, which is why he works for me. You have to be confident in this field that we're in. There's no room for errors. There's no room for us to be, kind of pennying around with our decisions. So here we go. So I want you to write this down. We are often coming in over prepared for a certain task. We over prepare. Oh my goodness. We will sit down and prepare, write the numbers over and over, research the comps. Run the details on the numbers, anticipate every single objection. Yet when it comes time to ask for what we want, we hesitate. We creep in. Our voices get lower. Like, what is that all about? Okay, why does that happen? Fear of rejection. That's the first thing. The fear of rejection. What if they say no? So what? We already talked about what a no is. Desire to be liked. I don't give. Listen, I don't want to seem pushy, but listen, why? You're not being pushy. You're just asking for what you need, what you want. I've worked with quite a few men in my career, both corporately and in my real estate practice. Let me tell you, they don't apologize. They don't seem pushy. They just state the facts. Perfectionism, that's the reason too. I need to know everything before I speak. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just need to have the facts. Once you have the facts, then everything else that comes out your mouth is solid. How about that? Let's not overperform. Let's not overperform. Okay, but the irony of it is that, over preparing, it builds your knowledge. It doesn't build your confidence at all. It blocks your opportunity because you're constantly overthinking it. Negotiation isn't about perfection. It's about courage and clarity and understanding what is it that you're doing that's going to get you the results that you want. That's really simple for me. Look, I've seen women spend weeks going over property comps, going over repairs, going over numbers over and over. I mean, going over the offer, making sure the asking price is what it is, and they're afraid to negotiate. Meanwhile, a confident ask, even if not perfect, it will overcome and trump that. It could have saved you thousands of hours of unlock a better deal for yourself. I mean, so here's your key takeaway. Preparation is extremely essential. Knowing the numbers is absolutely a part of it, but here's the kicker. Action. Action transforms it all. Your research gives you the authority, it gives you the knowledge, but it doesn't deliver your results. That's the difference. It doesn't deliver your results. So stop overthinking it. Be prepared, know your numbers, and be confident. Confidence comes from knowing, not knowing everything. I mean, it comes from trusting what you know. That's the difference. You can't know everything. Not if you're in real estate investing, not if you're in real estate, period. I mean, there's always something that's going to show up. You just have to be able to, I say it week after week, mitigate the risk that you may be understanding. If you can mitigate the risk based on what you're hearing, then you can confidently negotiate no matter what it is. All right, let me give you a few real scenarios from my coaching program. These are women that have overcome. They came in earlier, with their own thought process on what they were going to do. But these are women. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to embarrass anybody. But here's real scenarios. Okay. They didn't have 20 years of experience in business, and they still are learning how to negotiate like a pro. Okay, here are some of the examples. Let me see, how many do I have for you? How many? Okay, this is only three. Okay. This is a first-time investor. First-time investor. I'm not even going to say what state she's from. A first-time investor for her rental property. Okay. And she asked the seller to cover the closing costs. What? Listen, motivated sellers who are feeling distressed, motivated sellers who are having problems. Because if you've never wholesaled a deal before, then you may not understand why people wholesale properties. There's a lot of reasons. The number one reason people wholesale and work with investors is because the house needs a lot of repairs, and they're not willing to invest in those repairs. They're not willing to bring it up to code and put it traditionally on the market with a real estate agent, right? So because most agents need a home to look and sell a certain way in order for them to be able to get it on the market, turnkey. Well, not every owner is prepared to do a turnkey property. So they will work with investors such as us and get those properties on the market. We'll get them ready for that type of residential sale. But when you're working with an investor and you're working with someone that's in distress, we have ways to work those numbers, and they will be able to cover the cost. So let's just say that it was successful and she walked in confidently and it saved her $8,000. Now you're saying that's not a lot. Well, if you're asking for a property and you're in distress, every dollar matters. But the bottom line is she closed the deal. The seller walked away with his money. She's fixing the property up. She's going to get her return on investment, and she's moving on. Okay, that's the deal. Number two, this is a landlord, individual, a woman negotiating with a contractor for renovations. And she used the power of three that I just talked about. The three quotes, the three options, and the three outcomes. She secured a 20% lower bid without sacrificing quality. This works. It works every day. It works all day, every day. It's just a matter of asking. And if that person is so unbendable, unflexible, then do you really want to get into a long-term business with this person? Because generally contracting can take 4 to 6 weeks to renovate a house, including getting permits, right? Including getting it ready, including getting inspectors to come over. Do you want to deal with this person out the gate who is already not being flexible And you're telling him that this is not going to be your only property for the year. You plan on doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 of these a year. So if you find that that person is so unbendable, ask yourself the question, do you really want to work with this person over a long period of time? Or is this going to be a one and done deal with you? And that's not the kind of relationship that you want to be building out the gate. So she was able to negotiate 20% lower because he understood that she's not going to be just a one-time person. She's going to have multiple investments. This is a rising agent, a real estate agent who is in the program. And she asked a senior investor in the program for a referral partnership. And she was able to structure a win-win deal. And she got a multi-unit property, 3 units. So that's a big deal because she's a junior real estate agent. Okay. And she doesn't have a lot of experiences, but her confidence in knowing that she can get this property rented, get it done in record time because she is in coaching, because she has the guidance that she needs, gave her the confidence because the senior real estate investor is too busy. You know, when you get busy as an investor, you don't have time for the little deals. You move on. You start to do 40 plus units or more. So you don't really have time to monitor. And someone is telling you that they know this area. They know the market very well. They've done what the rent range is. They know exactly how to market it. And they know exactly how they're going to market it and get it rented out in no time. Not so much better than him, but because she has the availability. Okay, so in real estate, you either have money, time, or skills. So she has skills that she is getting. She's got the time, and the money is going to come. So it's all about strategy, and it's all about negotiating. It's all about figuring out how the hell am I going to do this? But you don't have to do it alone. You can do it on your own and make those mistakes and go to the University of Hard Knocks. There are plenty of graduates from that university, or you can do it with us. We are a coaching program that has launched our cohort number 1. We are in week number 7, and we are 3 more weeks, and these graduates are going on to do exactly what they're here to get, the skills that they need, the tools, the strategies. That's what the blueprint is all about as She Invests Realty. As She Rises Academy, we are teaching. Join our school community to learn more about what is it that we do. But here's the key takeaway I want you to get tonight. Experience is valuable, but preparation, confidence, and the right mindset can set you apart. It can make the deal or break the deal, even if you're new at investing. Negotiation is a skill you can learn. It's not so hard that this is something that you'll never be able to get. And it's not about the number of years that you've been in business. It's about the quality of the skills that you're gaining over a period of time. So understand that this is not about, well, when I get the number of years. No, it's not about the number of years. Okay. You don't need permission to be powerful. You can be powerful and still learn to get those skill sets. Now, I want to wrap this up by sharing with you that it has been my pleasure to serve you once again tonight. In the next 48 hours, I want you to negotiate something, a price, a deadline, a contract term. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you practice using your voice. You do not have to sit back like I could have sat back like I did 17 years ago. Once I heard that the investment was 6 figures to get into the program, I could have just gave up on myself then. But I had to ask. There has to be there's always another alternative. You know that, right? This is sales. This is business. And I want you to understand, I don't get what I deserve. I get what I negotiate. Have a great evening on purpose. I look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. And don't forget to learn more about what we do at the Academy. She Rises Academy, cohort number 2 starts December 4th. Looking forward to seeing you in the building.